I believe is in the benefit for the House of Saud and the Crown Prince to start depegging from the American petrodollar. I believe that America has abused the petrodollar to genocidally warmonger the Middle East. Hundreds of thousands of Arab citizens have perished by the invasions of the oil interests of America and Britain throughout the Middle East since the beginning of the combustion engine. America and Europe has been carving up, redrawing the lines of the Middle East, toppling nations with impunity, warmongering the Arab nations into submission, as well as OPEC members. So at the end of all these atrocities, the blood of genocide has been bled throughout the sands of the Arabians through the interests of Europe, mainly America's petrodollar, throughout the Middle East. I feel that the pressure will be mounting by the OPEC members to defend themselves from any more encroachments of military engagements, because America has toppled Iraq, Syria, Libya. They're about to target Iran under the Trump administration. They want to muscle Venezuela into submission. They want to invade the OPEC members in Africa. So the Crown Prince will be forced out of OPEC if he doesn't decouple from the petrodollar, the American greenback. It's an atrocity what's going on in the Gaza Strip to the Palestinians. It's an atrocity that the United Nations doesn't recognize Palestine as a country. When they predate the Bible. BC and AC, before Christ and after Christ, the Philistines has been a tribe of a people, and they deserved the right for the United Nations to recognize them as a sovereign country. We cannot stand by and watch Washington genocidally fund Netanyahu's genocide within the Gaza Strip, and for him to turn his attention to the West Bank with the one-state solution of Zionism. At the end of the day, y'all in the United Nations have to figure out that Palestine has the right sovereignty to be recognized as a country. And I am tired as an American citizen that the Arab lands has been shedded in genocidal wars for the love of oil. The House of Saud cannot continue to be used as an instrument by Washington to inflict invasions and topplements through the Pentagon and the CIA to warmonger the Middle East as well as the rest of OPEC members. So in my opinion, the House of Saud will be removed by the rest of OPEC members if the House of Saud doesn't adapt to the needs of the 21st century. The House of Saud should bear the responsibility to safeguard the whole of the Middle East from many more wars on behalf of oil interests. The House of Saud has the responsibility to maintain the order of peace throughout the Middle East. and prevent any more oil wars happening on behalf of this petrodollar. That's why it is so urgent to decouple from the interests of this hegemonic currency. I think that OPEC should sell oil to the open markets in every nation's sovereign currencies, meaning every nation on earth can purchase oil from OPEC in their national currencies throughout all nations on earth. That they should be able to sell and buy. OPEC should be able to sell and distribute their oil throughout the world in every nation's sovereign currencies. That'll give the advantageous positioning for OPEC to diversify their way out of this hegemonic currency that's troubling the world with being used. Because, let me explain a little bit what I mean. Roosevelt, when he had the meeting at the conclusion of World War II with the House of Saud to peg oil to be distributed in American currency, ever since then, America hasn't made the world their economical colonies. And in order to protect America's interests with oil, America has warmongered the OPEC members. Almost all of them has been warmongered by America's foreign interests. The members of OPEC in Africa, the members of OPEC in the Middle East, the members of OPEC in South America. Unanimously, almost all the OPEC members has been warmongered by the Pentagon. And the House of Saud cannot continue to allow this to happen because the rest of the OPEC will vote them out of the organization if the House of Saud doesn't accord and reform its charter as head of OPEC. I fear that they will get fired and expelled from the OPEC organization as far as the Crown Prince and the House of Saud if they don't adapt to the 21st century and the demands of a multipolar economic systems that all nations can be afforded to buy energy with their own sovereign nations' currencies. Because what's happening is that America is using this petrodollar, so all nations have to buy oil to consume gasoline. So America controls the flow of gasoline throughout the world. You have to buy it with the petrodollar. And they use the House of Saud to keep the rest of OPEC in check, while the rest of the members of OPEC get warmongered. They get toppled, they get invaded, they get overthrown. OPEC members, Syria, Iraq, Libya, Iran, Venezuela, the OPEC members in Africa, they get warmongered because America wants to prop up the gasoline dollar and make the world its colonies of commerce. So every nation has to have reserves, energy supply reserve of American currency in order to keep the flow of gasoline going throughout the world. And America uses it as leverage, as a weapon, the petrodollar, to have hegemonic rule over the world and disperse our military bases throughout the world. So I find that as an American citizen, that is unjust. And I want to wean off of gasoline because at the end of the day, we got peak oil. And we gotta conserve it because once it runs out, there's no more of it. The planet is not making any more of it when it runs out. So it has to be conserved and distributed with observing the demands of clean renewable energies. So I believe that OPEC has to reform. They have to get involved in the sectors of clean renewable energies and green energies. And we should conserve and use wisely peak oil throughout this planet before it runs out, and the planet won't make no more of it anytime soon. So we have to transition into clean energy. Saudi Arabia can lead the effort, so when peak oil passes away and there's no more oil, OPEC should be concentrating on clean energies. Clean energies for electric car technologies, clean energy for electric consumptions of household energy technologies. OPEC can diversify and start to invest in green energies and technologies for green energies. And so the leader of House of Saud is important. First of all, you have to safeguard the Middle East from many more wars breaking out. We have to stop the genocidal war in the Gaza Strip. We have to protect all Arab lands from being invaded and toppled for the love of oil. And we have to transition OPEC into clean renewable technologies of energies for the long foreseeable future. And if the Crown Prince doesn't see his responsibilities as chairman of OPEC, then he will get expelled from the organization. There's responsibilities that comes along with it. And if he's not willing to adapt, then the rest of OPEC will take command of themselves as an organization. But for right now, I see that if it's of the utmost important urgency that he decouples the world from this hegemonic petrodollar. Every nation can consume from OPEC in their sovereign currencies. And then I feel that the Crown Prince has the responsibility to set in motion the rest of OPEC members to invest and diversify. So when peak oil is at its lowest, OPEC would already be advanced in green energy technologies for energy electric generation technologies, clean renewable electric energies for transportations, and for house consumptions of clean renewable electric energies. Now is the time that all OPEC members should invest and diversify, so when oil runs out, we'll be prepared as OPEC, as an organization. We'll be advanced already in supplying the world with electric energy. There's plenty of opportunity for the House of Saud to diversify, as well as the rest of OPEC members. So transitioning OPEC by allowing every nation on earth to buy oil, peak oil, in their own sovereign currencies, then OPEC will be in a position to bargain with nations around the world as natural resources like lithium batteries, like electrical grids, electrical grid plants with advanced tokamak technologies. See, OPEC, by selling their peak oil throughout the world with every nation's sovereign currencies, it would allow diversification of the OPEC members to invest in regions and in nations throughout the world to build electrical plants, to build electrical grids, to have tokamak technologies, centrifuge technologies, to develop and generate electric clean energies. But that has to be done by depegging from the hegemonic greenback. because it will stagnate OPEC and OPEC members to be pegged on America's petrodollar. So by the members selling peak oil in every nation's sovereign currencies that they can consume and buy from OPEC in their own sovereign currencies, OPEC can start doing bilateral deals throughout the world to start diversifying away from oil. So when oil runs out, they will already be advanced and invested throughout the world in green and renewable energies by supplying electric car battery technologies, lithium, having OPEC having the abilities to build electrical grids throughout the third world, the developing world, to invest in clean, renewable electrical plant generation systems like centrifuge, tokamak technologies. So I found it a little bit unnerving when OPEC didn't join the developing third world. The global south is where the markets of tomorrow will be, and the greatest demand for more than 85% of the world's population within the global south or the third world regions will depend, because we will start to have a population growth throughout this planet. As technology advances, more humans will be born throughout the third world, and they will need to have supplies to electric energy. So OPEC has to position itself throughout the developing world. So it's important that OPEC decouples from the petrodollar and diversify in the developing world to start transitioning and investing throughout the third world. And for that reason, I was disappointed that they didn't join BRICS. Eventually, BRICS will be renamed because it will be, the way I see BRIC, you have economical multipolar blocks of economic systems, of central bankings. So let's say the United States is a union. But then as economical organizations, you have South America and the Caribbeans that can have their own central banks. That doesn't rely on this asymmetrical hegemonic currency of America controlling the world energy supplies through its currency. I don't believe in that. That's not a just system. So I believe in multipolar block economic systems. Like South America and the Caribbeans will have their own central bank systems. The whole of Africa will have their own central bank systems. The whole of Asia will have their own central bank systems. The whole of Arab lands will have their own central bank systems. The whole of Eastern Europe will have their own central bank systems. And that is the global south and the global east. Already, BRICS is richer than the G7 when it comes to trading globally. And there's a real need to adapt the developing world of the global south to meet the 21st century needs of humanity as we start to grow in populations throughout the world. There will be a great demand for energy, clean renewable energies. And the only way OPEC can do it is by decoupling from the petrodollar of America's greenbacks to give the rest of the world an equal opportunity to be a multipolar economic system, to rise up the third world and advance us into the future as first world economic systems, to raise impoverished third world regions. So it's important, these multipolar world orders. That's the way I see it. I study economic theory, And I believe in the global South and the global East has to rise up economically in a multipolar world. I don't believe in America controlling the world as a colonies by using sanctions to devaluate nations' currencies and tariffing nations into submission, using their currency and commerce as weapons by controlling the World Trade Organization, the International Monetary Fund, the Bank of Settlements, the SWIFT system, the World Bank. And that's all controlled from Bretton Woods when Roosevelt pegged the House of Salt to the American currency to float the gasoline dependency of the world. Now every country has to have American reserve currency just to supply their nations with gasoline. And that's unjust. The Arab lands has been genocidally warmongered for this black oil blood that spilled the Arab nations genocidally. That is an atrocity. For that reason, I want to decouple from the petrodollar. And I believe in the multipolar world order. Right now, it's named BRICS, but the name will be changed to meet a neutral organization to represent the whole world. But for right now, the developing nations will be the global South and the global East, along with the European Union and the United States. Because I live in America and the United States, but we have to reform ourselves in the world order to adapt to the 21st century. And the first step is to decouple from the petrodollar. It's of the utmost urgency that OPEC adapts to the 21st century in a just way, in a fair way, in a responsible way.